What is a true king? The Torah says a true king is one who is free from his desires. Now, what does that mean? Is it a person who goes the Orthodox way and says desires are bad, forget them all? No. Mishlei Proverbs happens to say, desire attained is a tree of life. So, a true king is one who has battled within himself, overcame the barriers of his animal soul. A human has both an animal soul and a divine soul. Now, desires, the material, the instinctual areas, so to speak, come from the animal soul. Now, that actually keeps you going, that keeps you wanting things. Utilizing them the right way is what makes you free from your desires, resistance, battling. Confining yourself to learning the right things you need to learn when those battles are ahead. Internal battles. Once you free yourself of your desires, you're a true king. That's what the Torah says is a true king. The Torah calls a true king is one who is free from his desires. A true king, you can see a woman passing by, let's say someone hired her, for example, to seduce you before a boxing match, or maybe to even pass by as you're training just to distract you in the gym. Desires maintain a control on a human being, and when put to use the wrong way, cause lots of problems. A person can have inner desires to want to be great, to want to be big, to want to have a big ego. The higher you get, the bigger your ego gets. Desires, when used for the right reason, helps you attain the energy to put yourself to use and to pass the tests of freeing yourself from desires. A person who's controlled by desires really wants tests. A person who wants no test, has pretty much freed himself from desires, that of his own desires and that of people's desires. Now, when you're free of desires, it's like you have a variety of spirituality open to you. And you're a true king who attains your desires the right way. Proverbs says, a desire attained is a tree of life. When your desires control you, you're no true king. You're not even a peasant. You're a slave to your desires. You're a slave to the world. You're a slave to your business. You're a slave to women. All you are, when you look in the mirror, every day, you see yourself a slave not wanting to know it. Freeing yourself from desires. You can look yourself in the mirror the right way. One who's free, calm, and relaxed, cruises through life, knows the difference between right and wrong in one fashion or the other. Is free from his desires. When you're free from your desires, life is on the horizon. You know what life is about. And you have the choice of going about life the right way or the wrong way. Who's to say there were no wicked men who became true kings and freed themselves of their desires? That's the main issue here. Now, all this violence and stuff, especially when it comes to targeting great people who know good enough not to waste their time, hard-earned energy on listening to somebody who really doesn't matter. Somebody who just takes cheap shots. When you've learned what the negative and the positives of desires are, you'll be able to distinguish better and free yourself from your desires. Now, martial artists. What's a true martial artist in spirit, at heart? Bruce Lee, for example. That was a true king. That's an example. What's a true king? One who was free from his desires. Look at the heights he reached. Look at life he maintained. Look at how many cowards came to take cheap shots at him. I've seen him up close, in person, knowing he's a great guy, a great man, that Jews recognized. To more so be the mosaic figure when it comes to martial arts, Jeet Kune Do, that he mastered. That's the truth. Bruce Lee, that was the true king. It's a very hard to reach point in your life to where you're free of your desires and you're a true king. Now, many people look up to people who are true kings, not posers of true kings. They want to be like them. And they ask themselves, how does a martial artist maintain his cool so much? Like, for example, a loser comes up to Bruce Lee, insults him to his face, maybe in public, comes to his face, goes nose to nose with him, just to touch him, to take him off. Bruce Lee, of course, giving him a stern warning. You better step back or he'll get his ass kicked. Or people will get in the way, which is the losers. The guy who comes up to him was a loser. Hopes that people will get involved or there are people around. Or one way or the other, the true king is not, Bruce Lee, for example, not going to attack him back. It's an internal attack. It's an emotional attack. It's a spirit attack. To go up to somebody like this, it's an attack on their ego, too. They don't want to earn it. They want to have it, and they'll know they'll never have it. They'll go up to somebody made who's a true king, like Bruce Lee in their respect, for example, and stir violence with him, knowing he's a great man and he's not going to get violent with him. How do you become like Bruce Lee? what I just mentioned gets you there. Why do so many people say, look at this guy, he's able to control himself, he doesn't get angry. He doesn't get angry too fast, maybe. He doesn't get angry at all. Look at the way he maintains himself, look at the way he conducts himself. Just like Bruce Lee, the right people, the greatest sages in Judaism especially, have always maintained their cool, no matter what anyone says, no matter, even if they're surrounded by losers all around. And everybody wanted to be like them. I say, how do you maintain yourself this way? The answer they were looking for is, I learned how to free myself of my desires. What's a true king? As the Torah teaches, one who is free from his desires. How do you become like this? Discipline. Discipline of the emotions, discipline of the spirit, discipline of the mind, discipline of the heart. Every which way discipline. Even when somebody is trying to completely spit on your ego for knowing that you became religious. Now, many religious Jews want to know what this means, so somebody brought it up. Okay, I'll explain it. I just explained it. Don't quit on yourself. You know what's funny? Many of the people fight for the wrong things in life. And when it comes to the things that matters, they don't put up a fight at all. And they walk around hating on true kings. Nowadays, it's an acceptable thing. One example that everybody usually has a problem with, Jews and Gentiles. When somebody gets in your face, knowing you're great, hoping somebody's going to stop you from having to have to defend yourself, or even having, going up to just stop, knowing you're a nice guy, you're not going to hurt anyone, especially if they know you're into martial arts or something like that. Violence is the issue. The difference is, does somebody provoke you to it? Where they finally threatened your life and your health by you being provoked by it with no control, destroying someone. Because if you wouldn't get your feelings out with the disrespect that was committed to you, you'd be sinning against yourself, you become sick inside, you lose your desire of life. That's how it all starts. When you accept an attack right on your heart, right on your soul, and right on all that you possess. When somebody attacks a person's ego, that's when you come through and fight the right fight. It doesn't mean getting physical. It doesn't mean getting violent. Avoiding violence at all costs. That's a real Jew. Avoiding wars with all the other nations. That's a real Jew. But when they attack what keeps you going high and keeps you great, your ego, becomes a matter of life and death. That's where it will lead to. As the Torah says, it's forbidden to hit someone unless, one, they're coming to kill you, which is life or death. Two, if it's self-defense, because it's really life or death. If they hit you, you exert lots of energy. At the same time, you might get hurt, might leave you vulnerable spiritually to being subject to different kind of vulnerabilities. So This is the key here. I just want to say, on a personal note, many people think it's okay to attack a person who's become religious in Judaism, the Torah, following God's ways finally, and say, even, look at this guy, he was once a badass. Nobody played with him. I mean, he'd break their face if he even felt something was wrong. When you didn't know better, of course. Goes into religion, becomes religious. They say, all right, they're all pushovers. Every religious person, for some reason, accepts an attack on their ego because of false rabbinic leaders wanting to lower the standard of what man is so that they could look like men in front of men who are fallen men nowadays and were once real men. Abandon yourself after you become religious, who you were in the past. You forgot yourself. I never did that, for example. Knowing the Torah, following the Torah, keeping the Torah, that's the way to go. To attack somebody violently for saying you're rabbi, for example, is misleading everybody who he gives the lecture to purposely. And you caught him, and you have proof, and you still take his back as if he's your religion, as if he's some sort of an idol to worship. You're trapped by your desires, kid. What is a true king? One who is free from his desires. Desire attained is a tree of life. True desire to attain is becoming that what you never imagined yourself to be. Breaking those barriers, breaking those klipot. So this teaching is particularly aimed to the religious folk, which many people don't like calling themselves religious because they get the notion, for some reason, because of all the other a-holes who become religious, that once you're religious, you're a pushover. A man can tell you to your face he slept with your wife, and you'll just smile with your head down like this and walk along like this. Or you could teach him some respect verbally and show him what a real Jew is. That's an attack on the entire Jewish nation. Never was it like this in history. That means we're getting close to somewhere. All of evil comes towering on you, crashing down on you, giving it its best. It's like an arm wrestling match. You got your opponent close to the pad. You think he's just going to go down easy? It's almost over. He's going to give you everything he's got so that his hand doesn't hit that pad. Same thing with evil. Same thing with anything in life. The religious people, because of false leadership with intentional purposes of misleading you and corrupting your hearts, when your hand has come close to the pad, a few inches away, you've let it go and it hit the pad. Current religious leaders to succumb to the power of the Erev Zair. What kind of a Jew are you? You've made wimps out of men who are supposed to be men of God. Change this shit, or you'll be changed for good. Change you can believe in style. He knows who I am. He's afraid of me for a reason. Temptation to sin. Nobody can do it the way a man of God can. To religious Jews, get your shit together. Be a man of God. End this shit once and for all. 3 strikes, you're out. I had my share of 3 strikes. Nothing but cheap shots. And still, for example, many people look up to me. I didn't get violent unless it became life or death. People think you're a religious Jew. It's okay to walk up to you chest to chest, knowing in themselves you're not gonna touch them back and put their own losership and their own life by telling you you're some kind of a cunt, for example, knowing you're not going to knock them out the way you would have before your religious days. Remember who you are. Remember who you were. Remember where you came from. Don't give up. You're being conceived after becoming religious. Take all that power, all that capacity use that you put to the side, you've disowned when you became religious, and learn to apply it the right way, the Torah way, not the Jewish way, the way that they say is the Jewish way, the one that never succeeds, the corny way. What kind of bullshit is this? You religious Jews, get your shit together. Man of God. That's what it's all about. If you question what I'm telling you, ask Gog who Gabriel Yak is. Gog. As the Tanakh says, I will place hooks into your cheeks. I wonder whose hooks that is. Anyone who wants to put a man of God down, knowing he's not going to do anything, knowing he's a nice guy, is beyond the boundaries of shit. Religious Jews, tell your leaders who know who I am, Gabriel Yak is about to expose them to the entire world if they don't change righteously. Just because all of you have become pushovers and all of these other fags think that it's okay to step to my face knowing if I was permitted by Torah, if it was really life or death, I'd eat their hearts out and destroy them. Current religious Jews today, what kind of a Jew are you? Get your shit together. The world is watching. You're supposed to be an example. Be a light unto the nations, says the Torah. Get your shit together. Don't make your friend become your enemy. Righteously. You caused the problem, I got the cure. Don't end up facing me. I will expose all of your asses. Get it together. What is a true king? One who is free from his desires. Ein od muvado, there's nothing besides God. One.